Hello, everyone. It is the dawn of Halo's campaign release, where we are, anyway. It is the dawn of the Game Awards. Who will win? Will there be reveal trailers? PlayStation might have a Game Pass competitor coming right up. We've got all of this and more to speak about today at the Quick Resume podcast. Thanks for coming back today, everybody. This is episode 34 of the Quick Resume podcast. Boy, what a day. It's big. It's a big old day. For lots of reasons. Not just, to be honest, like gaming in general, but just the monumental impact that Halo seems to be having over the gaming sphere at the moment is massive. And obviously, we're not going to be unable to talk about that. But hopefully, this will be the last episode where I have to use a Halo like thumbnail or background, as you can see around me right now, because it's obviously been the central point of everything for so long. Nonetheless, here we are. I'm Deck over there. That's Tim. Wow. How are we today, Tim? This is a big, exciting day for us, I think.
Yeah, man. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling a little bit, maybe partially under the weather, but in terms of hype and in terms of talking and getting this podcast on the road, yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm excited.
You're hype sick.
I'm hype sick. Yeah. So
it's just what always happens, isn't it? And it's like we say. You get sick when you're on holidays. It's because you've just been sitting on hype for like a week.
Just always. There's only so much hype a body can take before it just goes into shutdown, right?
Yeah, that's it. Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh goodness.
But yeah, no, I'm excited. Obviously, for as you said, the dawn of the Halo release, which ironically didn't launch at dawn. I couldn't play it at dawn.
It's true.
Which I feel like this is really weird, right? I don't know if it's just me. I guess it's because it's kind of like half a product is already out, but I do feel like it's odd that it didn't just have a midnight release, right?
Yeah, I don't know the strategy behind this because some games do this. Some games do like a global release, so i.e. the time is synced across all, so you can't. And it might just be because they've kept a lot of the story under wraps, and they don't want people flying to New Zealand. For to get the game and then spoil it early. They want access. So it's either that or it's to like cash in on like the hype, maybe just in the sense that like I said, it won't get deflated over a 12-hour period. It'll be a big explosion all at once worldwide. I don't know. It might even be something as silly as the fact that the game is technically a DLC, like in terms of how it's like its download like structure.
Yeah.
Like the Infinite is the client, the multiplayer is the client. Yeah, then
we've already got a section for campaign, right? It's just a case of downloading that campaign onto the already existing application that has multiplayer.
Yeah, which is why we can't preload it, which kind of sucks.
Yeah. I read about that, and I think I don't think anyone has an exact size on it, but I think people are saying it's sort of at least 30 plus gigs or something, which.
There are exec sizes.
Oh, are there? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
what is the exact size?
It's 26, I think. If you own multiplayer already, it's like 26.
Okay, all right.
Should be
and how big was the multiplayer client? I can't remember. So, like, as an overall package, how big is it?
The multiplayer was only like 30, if I remember. So it's not
quite
that bad.
Interesting. I was about to say because obviously, like all the other Halos and MCC as well, and I remember Halo 5 was like 100 plus gig as well, so it's pretty good they managed to condense that all into a.
It's because there's no content in it, isn't there?
Yeah, exactly. It'd be so many more gigs per game mode in multiplayer, I tell you what.
Yeah, exactly. That Slayer playlist, that would be another 15 gigs at least.
Easy.
Just good optimization, mate. I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, how are you other than that? What's your gaming life been like? Your general life as well.
I mean, general life, nothing to write home about. Just pretty standard stuff. As you said, I'm on holiday now. We both booked a little bit of time off for the.
Yes.
I mean, we kind of pre-booked this time off before the Halo multiplayer got stealth dropped because we assumed it would be this entire package happening today. So we were like, we want some days off. We want to just like hit the ground running like crazy. But obviously, I'm still going to take the holiday. I'm not going to unbook it. So
course.
we're off for the next few days, so that's obviously very nice. And I'm just hoping I don't fall sick, which is always what happens on my time off. But fingers crossed it doesn't. And it's going to be a bit of a. I mean, obviously going back to Halo and why we had the time off and everything, it's going to be a bit awkward doing the whole campaign situation. Like we both want to play the campaign, obviously. I don't think we're just going to blitz it. I want to play some multiplayer tonight as well. But it's going to be a bit weird because obviously there's no co-op, is there? So are we going to have to like not be talking or just like I don't know? It's a bit.
Yeah,
it's a bit awkward.
I don't know either. I'm sure we can figure it out. Maybe this is one of those games where we can do. The thing is, the problem is,
we're quite
everyone out there. We are. But for other social gamers out there, you know, it might be the case that you are the social glue of the party, and I kind of think that of us. Call me big-headed, but when people see us in a party, we do not get any time alone. And that's the problem. So we'll have 6 people in a party who will just be like, you know, oh, the AR's too powerful. Oh, the needless suck. And they'll be like, oh, I just want to listen to Chief.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like if it was just me and you, we're quite respectful of each other. We might like just be like, "Oh, that was cool," you know, just like little quirks here and there, or whereabouts are you? Like spoiler free, all that sort of stuff. I'm in a cutscene. But yeah, if you play it, some of our friends, and you all have that one friend that just doesn't shut up as well. It's just always talking, and we have one of those. Yeah, we literally describe him as like a tumble dryer. He's just background noise like all the time. But yeah, so that'll be quite interesting to tackle, and I'm looking forward to it. But apart from that, I've been playing a bit of Scarlet Nexus as well. I booted that up as a new game. I'm not really too sure why, to be honest. I kind of just fancy. I think I was just like. Not that I was getting burnt out on the Halo multiplayer, but like I kind of just fancied not clicking on heads for like a few hours. I was like, let's just play like a single player like game, and that's been on my list for a while. And anyone who's watched previous episodes, I have name dropped it a few times. So yeah, I've put about 7 or 8 hours into that now, and it's I'm enjoying it so far. It's really good. It hasn't absolutely blown my mind. But it's good. The story's cool and interesting, and I'm just starting to get to some plot twists. I love the art style and the design of the characters and stuff like that. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, nice.
The combat is like it's like a J action RPG. So it's a lot more fast paced than a lot of other JRPGs, which I quite like. In terms of, I have a big background with like DMC and stuff like that. I like those kind of games. So yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with that, and
awesome anime.
I also love anime.
Yeah, it's one of the few like JRPGs because I enjoy them every now and then. It's one of the few ones that have come out like in the last few years that's kind of caught my eye. I kind of like the art style of it. I like kind of the vibe it's giving off. So I do have it installed. Try it at some point. I mean, it won't be anytime soon, depending on how quickly I finish Infinite. But it might be something I sort of put on my backlog because I did like the look of it, and it reviewed pretty well as well.
Not that I've played Nier, but I heard it's taken quite a lot of inspiration from Nier as well. So, and you love Nier.
I do love Nier. To be honest, though, I didn't love it for the combat. Like the gameplay was fine. I don't know. I think that's quite an unpopular opinion. I think most people really like because it's like Platinum, and that's kind of what they do. I thought it was good. It felt good, but it was I don't know. It felt a bit like floaty, and the upgrade system was kind of weird and like not clear at times. But the reason I love Nier was obviously everything else was god tier about Nier, but the combat was still good. But yeah, it's I can see what you're saying there. Yeah, awesome. And I guess I wanted to, but I smashed out because I'm between jobs at the moment, so I'm like I've had some more spare time on my hands, and I had my last day actually at work yesterday, so I'm moving into a new job next week. And in that time, I've smashed out the Forgotten City. I don't know if did I mention that to you? Did I mention that I was playing
You
Forgotten
did.
City?
You did briefly mention it, yeah. But I didn't. I didn't know you were playing it sort of that intensely
Yeah, yeah,
to
man.
bash it out.
Oh, well, I wasn't going to, but then it just kind of really got its claws in me. Because do you know anything about it?
Not really. No.
It's like it's like a time loop game. It got brought into the conversation quite a lot when Deathloop came out, because obviously Deathloop was only on PlayStation, and people were like, well, if you're interested in this sort of thing, here's the Forgotten City. Don't even know when it came out. I imagine like 3-4 months ago to Games Pass. So this is the interesting thing. It was a Skyrim mod back in the day. The whole game was a Skyrim mod, or like the premise and the basic idea, and it was really popular. It won a couple of mod awards. So they were like, "We're going to go and make this into a game." So 3 people went away and made it into a full game on, I think it's on Unreal Engine, and they it put new characters in, fleshed out the story, this, that, and the other, and gameplay mechanics and whatever. And yeah, it's just brilliant, man. It's one of those indie games which it's not pretty to look at. Some of the facial animations are distractingly bad. Same with the lip syncing. But it's just a really good story, and I'm really fascinated by time loop games. Like, they always do something for me. So whether that's 12 minutes or the Outer Wilds or this, and eventually Deathloop. But the idea, the premise is that you stumble across not to spoil anything, but you stumble across a ancient Roman city, and you fall down into it without any way of getting back out, and with a civilization of 30-ish people just beneath, and there's a weird force, a religious rule that they live under, called the Golden Rule. And the idea is that if one person commits a sin, whatever that means, which the game tackles, everyone in the city gets turned to gold.
Okay.
So the idea is that someone is about to make a sin, and you have to figure out who that is. And then you time loop. If obviously something goes wrong, you time loop, and you have to figure out again, and you collect that information. I just find that sort of loop, I would describe it as like an information roguelike. These sorts of games, 12 minutes have the same vibe. Our Wilds was the same thing, where you each loop, you learn more, and the game kind of collates that information for you to then make better decisions on the next run. And I just find that really gratifying. It makes for some just really compelling storytelling, and I just had a big fan. I'd give it a 9 out of 10. It's really, really good.
Oh wow.
It was graphically, it is rough. There was one particular gameplay section which was just stupid, and but the story was so well rounded out. A couple of really nice plot twists. I think you'd really like it. It only took me 10 hours to finish, but the twists in particular are really good. I think you'd really enjoy it. Even if it doesn't sound like your sort of game. But yeah, I definitely recommend it if anybody out there is interested in sort of a shorter game. It's on Games Pass. Perfect Games Pass game. Jeez. Because you look at it in screenshots, you're I'm not going near that. I'm not going near that. But it's really good.
Yeah. Oh, nice, man.
Yeah, I had a really good time with that. Yeah, really, really good. Cool. So, we have a number of news stories today, but before we sort of get into that, I kind of want us to just have a bit more of a free flow stuff about the general ongoings of this week. And by the time you see this, it's likely that, well, no, it is. The campaign will already have been out, and the TGAs. I'll probably have this out just before the TGAs, because that's quite late for us on Thursday, so tomorrow, or early morning. It's 12:30, in the morning tomorrow.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll have that out before then. But the crux of the episode really is that reviews came out yesterday for Halo Infinite, and by Joe, they've done it. And there's a lot to get into it. It's quite funny, so it's settled out an 86 on OpenCritic and Metacritic. I think there will be a couple more reviews that maybe come out today, as some reviewers who didn't get codes put them up, but it just recently came down from 87, so there's a good chance it could go back up. I don't see it dropping to an 85, so I reckon we could probably say the 86 to 87 range is probably fair. So what's we made some predictions on this, didn't we? I said 88, I think. I can't remember what you said.
I think I was quite spicy, and I thought it might literally just hit 90. I think.
Right.
I thought it might have cracked the 9s, but which it has for a majority of people.
For a lot of reviews,
so
yeah.
Technically, I wasn't wrong.
So I mean, what are your thoughts? I mean, I don't know if you've like watched any of the reviews or like just what's your kind of vibe about kind of the score from what you've read and what you've seen, and this number and
everything. So I watched the IGN review, and I watched another game producer's review. I can't remember who it was, GameSpot or You're a Gamer or something. I don't know. But basically, I've watched two like official like company-esque reviews.
yeah.
And from what I could tell, they were very, very happy with it. Obviously, they gave it IGN gave it a 9. And everything they said about it, I kind of completely agreed. Obviously, and which kind of leads me on to my point of I watched a sort of content creator review of it as well. I watched the Skill Up review, and he liked it, and he obviously said it was the best one for a long time. But then he said it for him it fell quite short in the story aspect of things. He said that they seem to play it safe more so than anything else, especially when obviously with Halo 4 and 5 they tried to get a little bit spicy with it, didn't they? And they tried to really throw in some twists and all this kind of crap, which didn't really hit home at all for the fans, especially Halo 5 was just absolutely garbage tier. So I think that from what I could tell from him, and I did kind of hear it in the other reviews as well, is the story's good, but it's nothing that's going to blow you away. People are enjoying it, but it's not like crazy, oh my god, this twist, oh my god, this storytelling sort of thing, and these characters, from what I understand. And then obviously the main complaint that I've seen go through pretty much all the reviews is the biome, I guess. A lot of people are basically saying it's just you drop onto the ring, you go outside, you see those trees, you see the green grass, and that's all you're going to be seeing, apart from some forerunner structures for indoors. Those two environments are all you're going to be seeing for the entire length of the campaign, really. And I did hear that got quite repetitive and stuff like that. So, but I mean, and then as always, the praise was just ridiculous for the sandbox. Like people just love the core gameplay of it. The sandbox,
people love that grappling hook.
yeah, exactly. People love that grappling hook, and got a lot of praise, which was very surprising to me as well. A lot of praise. Well, no, not this part was surprising, but they got a lot of praise for the AI. The enemy AI apparently is fantastic. And then they got a lot of praise for bosses. I heard a lot of people really like the boss encounters and stuff like that, which I found really surprising for like just like a shooter sort of thing, because normally bosses in this sort of game is just hard you fucking shoot them, right? You just fucking shoot them, and they're just a normal enemy. It's just an elite with just more HP, right? And maybe has like a ground pound move, like the whole Destiny formula. I feel like they're normally quite boring, so I was quite happy to hear that they did bosses really well. I mean, from all the collective information and everything they talked about, I think they're pretty fair scores. I mean, me being biased, I probably like it to be a 9 rather than like an 8.5 or something like that. But yeah, I mean, I think from what I can tell, they're more than fair scores, right? People are loving the campaign, so I was quite pleased with the overall reaction. So
yeah, I think that's probably a fair interpretation of everything. Yeah, and like in terms of like the actual number itself, that is definitely another conversation I want to have, and how that sort of pertains to like the previous game scores, like Halo 5 and Halo 4. This sits at a lower score than Halo 4, which is another conversation. But
it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, just to hear what you're saying. Yeah, I think I listened to quite a few reviews, and I did watch Skill Ups as well. Yeah, and he wasn't too hot on a few parts of it. He did overall really enjoy it. He obviously doesn't rate on a scale, so that what that means is hard for me to kind of visualize. But he Yeah, and it's from what I've understood, and like I remember when some of the story beats got leaked a while back. I remember seeing some people saying some of these story beats are going to be polarizing. A lot of the things I saw would say this is really good. I think this is really like confident, good storytelling. But I think some of these decisions are going to be polarizing. And I think that's kind of what we've got. I think a lot of the story, it either plays it safe, and then a couple of the beats are controversial in that it does nothing, or in that it does nothing for some people, or does a lot for other people. And I don't know what that hinges on. I watched a couple of like Halo YouTubers, like Hidden Xperia, for example, and he fucking loved it. Like he rated it like a 9.3. He's on Twitter like every day. He's like a hardcore Halo fanboy, and who's been really really critical of everything that 343 does. So he's like, he's been on Twitter like every day, like this campaign is incredible. It's gonna blow your fucking mind away. And he rated it like a 9.3. And to put that into context, that's like he rated Halo Reach a 9, and like 1, 2, and 3 varied between like 9.4 and 9.9, I think. I think, and there are obviously lots of scores in here which are even higher up at like 10 out of 10 level, and I've seen a lot of reviews which do say it's got really good personalization of characters. These relationships and these characters are really, really good. And the story comes together in a really nice way. I guess, we'll have to wait and see. It's one of those things. I'm just wondering if it's one of those things that will be like carry more weight if you're already invested in the franchise, or you have like knowledge of the rest of the series. And I don't consider myself like, I've been watching like catch up videos to try and like reacquaint myself with the universe, because I'm like, I've never been like a Halo buff, but I enjoy the lore of it, like for sure. I'm hoping that's something that will be accessible enough to me to be enjoyable. But I've always found, even like since Halo 4, I've always found Chief a far more enjoyable character since 343 wrote him. Might be controversial, but I never found the stories and overall plot beats of the original trilogy and Reach like amazing. Reach is probably my favorite campaign out of all the Halos.
I probably agree with you there.
But I never I never enjoyed. I don't know. Like I never really loved the characters that much in the original trilogy. Like Chief was cool, but like he's like bland, but since through to go, like there's at least a bit of character, and they've tried to like pad that out with the relationship between him and Cortana. And obviously in the original trilogy, there's things like there was Johnson and Arbiter and stuff like that, and that was cool. I just never felt like it was really fleshed out, whereas I like that we were getting this kind of like fleshed out Master Chief, this sort of fleshed out John. So I am like, even just watching the trailers, I'm like, this is going to do a lot for me, unless it really fumbles. Like I can just tell it's going to do a lot for me. As this, as all the previews have said, it's like kind of this broken guy who carries like the weight of humanity on his shoulders, but at the same time he's conflicted because he wants to find out what the fuck's happening with Cortana, who's been doing some pretty ominous shit. I'm really excited for it, and I think all of those campaign reviews sound, I would say, kind of what I was expecting. Maybe what I wasn't expecting so much is the consistent through line is that the combat is like phenomenal, like top of the industry standard, like Titanfall 2 is kind of what I think of when and maybe Doom Eternal when I think of like top of the industry FPS standard. I wasn't expecting that to get that much praise. The biome thing that we spoke about that a few episodes back. We kind of were like, hopefully that's not the case. But having said that, I don't think it's a necessity. Not every open world game needs to be a checklist of snow and desert and swamp and I don't think.
I guess so, but there's no harm in having something that pleases the eye and something different. I do agree that it doesn't have to be a checklist of having all the different biomes, but I mean, the campaign's like 20 something hours or something, isn't it? Like,
right, yeah, somewhere between 12 and 20.
Like, it's a fairly lengthy campaign just to sit in one sort of environment, essentially. But it's not a deal breaker for me. It's just it would be nice to have something else that my eyes can look at.
Yeah,
but But yeah,
I think it's totally fair. Like even like you said, when we were watching the previews, we were like, I mean, it's lovely as these areas looks like. Where are the other ones, sort of thing. Which
yeah.
I don't think it's a biggie, but I can understand why. I just have to see how it feels, really. But yeah, I
And they
think
might
it's
get
yeah.
added as campaign expansions, mission expansions later down the line onto the single player. So
And I think that's we touched on that before. I think that's definitely what they'll do. Next one it'll be like Halo Infinite : the tundra, and it'll be like explore the flood in the snowy part, and it'll be like that sort of thing. Fully supported co-op and all of that. But yeah,
yeah,
so that's our interpretation of the reviews. More so like the score on the score side of things. I'm really happy. I think really when we spoke about this like weeks and like even months ago, we kind of agreed that the game just needs to hit 85 or above. Really, which is funny because it's just such a weird like mixing pot at the moment because the amount of like good press Halo is getting at the moment from like outlets would make you think that this game, like everybody's saying Halo is back, Return of the King, like you'd have thought that this game is sitting at a higher score, but then obviously there's like this very vocal minority who will not shut the fuck up about like really minor things. Like valid, but minor in the grand scheme of things. And so depending on where you're looking, you could be hearing about Halo for the first time and think, wow, this sounds like an Anthem release. Because it's like, oh, it's
yeah.
missing playlists and stuff like that. But it's fucking not. So it's just so funny. It just depends like where you're looking, really. But
it's weird. I definitely think if Halo wasn't sitting on the fucking pedestal that it is, it would have far higher scores overall.
Mhm.
I just think this pedestal it's on is hurting it and giving it the spotlight at the same time. But it's just so much pressure, and I genuinely think that people wouldn't be afraid to give it higher scores and be so overly critical over the small things if it didn't just have to live up to this unreal expectation in everyone's eyes.
Yeah.
Because it is probably the best shooter I played for such a long time. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Obviously Apex is up there for me, but apart from Apex, yeah, it's probably the best shooter I've played since, like you said, Titanfall 2.
Yeah.
And when did Titanfall 2 release? Like, it was quite a long time ago.
Yeah,
It's like
2015
2015,
maybe?
yeah, something like that.
2015, yeah.
So it's like it's essentially like the best shooter I have personally played for like 7 years or something like that, 6-7 years, and it's one of those games that's just going to keep getting better as well because it's got that free to play model, right? They're going to keep updating it. They're going to keep adding cosmetics. Map packs are no longer a fucking thing. I mean, they haven't been for a while for any shooter, but like maps will get added, game modes will get added, Forge will get added. This game is just going to keep building up and up and up until it's just
until it's 300
it
gigabytes.
is this masterpiece. Yeah, until it's 300 gigabytes. It would definitely be. I think Halo Infinite's one of those games which I hope reviewers kind of do it again, like review it again in like a year or two. Because I'm acting like the scores it's getting a bad. It got a 9 out of 10 from most places, but like, yeah, it's one of those games which would be probably close to a perfect 10 if they reviewed it in a year or two. At least that's my prediction. Yeah. But it's here to stay. It's got like an insanely solid foundation, and just they're going to build on it, right? And yeah, I do find it quite interesting, like you said, that it's actually sitting lower than Halo 4, you said.
Halo 4 doesn't seem to have an entry on OpenCritic, which is really weird, but on Metacritic it hit 87, which is obviously a point higher.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Halo 4 was better than 5, I think.
Overall.
But, yeah. Yeah, I'd probably say overall. I think Halo 5 made some nice changes to multiplayer and stuff like that. But then I also did. I thought Halo 5's campaign was really, really quite bad. it was a little bit of fun if you literally looked at it in the eyes of let's just hop on and have some fun. But it was pretty bad, and then the multiplayer just wasn't my cup of tea. I mean, I remember talking to you about this as well. Like, I've played obviously since. I mean, I played Combat Evolve obviously back when I had a shared PC with my brothers, but like, I didn't play Halo 2. Played 3 loads. Played Reach loads. Played 4 a fair amount, and Halo 5 was like the only game where I just didn't click with the multiplayer. I just couldn't play it. I just didn't. I kind of wanted to play it, but I just couldn't. Like, I was just going like 0-20 like every game. There was just something. It was some kind of mental block there for me, and I think that's all those changes they made.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. So overall, I think I preferred Halo 4 as a game to 5. But this game, in my eyes, I mean, if you could ask me to,
it's not even close, is it?
Exactly. Yeah, I can't even remember what the fuck happened in Halo 4 or what it did that was groundbreaking to the multiplayer or anything. Like, if you genuinely asked me, I probably could remember, but I have slightly fond memories of it. And this game is just blowing my fucking face off. But it's getting the same but worse scores. But I don't know. It's very interesting to think about it.
And I think, there's something to be said. I think there's like a two-pronged kind of approach I think we can take here, in that first-person shooters never review that well. Don't know what it is. True. They never, like, Doom Eternal, 88. For example, looking at that right now, I don't know what Titanfall got. I imagine that was, if I had to guess, I imagine that was 88 or 89. They just don't reach the 90s.
I think probably lower. I think Titanfall 2 actually got lower.
What do you think? No, 89.
89, okay.
Which is kind of unbelievable when you think about how much EA sent out of that game to die. That's just stupid, isn't it? They just don't reach 90s for some reason. It's all, and I've spoken about this kind of before, and I mean, like, you could make the argument of like, oh well, first-person shooters tend to be worse games than third-person action-adventure games. It's like that doesn't make sense. So, and I've spoken about this before, that I think we have an easier frame of comparison when we're just looking at things that look like movies. And so when you're looking at a third-person action game, you're like, oh yeah, the cinematography was really, and I'm guilty of this as well. But you can appreciate more in that because we're used to like a couple centuries worth of movies and what they do well, and we understand what makes a movie good. So we can copy that template to reviewing games and be like, this is so good. Whereas I think with a lot of first-person shooters, there's a lot that goes underappreciated because films aren't made in the same way. Like gun feel and gun play. For a lot of people who don't play first-person shooters, I'll pick it up and they'll be like, yeah, it feels good. Good? Like, it's like, I could write like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of words about the difference between how games feel between like Apex and Halo and Wolfenstein and Doom. Like, they all feel different. Some for better, some for worse. Like, for some, like, I never saw this in any of the reviews for Wolfenstein. The shooting wasn't very good in Wolfenstein. In terms of gun feel, enemy reactivity was really good. Gunplay, like sounded really good, but like the actual how it felt on the sticks didn't feel that good. I don't know if it was like designed around PC, but there's just things like that that it's just not brought up very much, other than like, yeah, it feels really good. It's like, well, what else? Like, what else? Like, so hopefully you see the point I'm trying to make. So it's like I feel like there's like a blind spot for first person shooters that most of us, like I said, I'm not exempt from this, that makes it harder to review that genre. And I think that could explain the gap in points, is that we don't look at that part of the craft because it's mostly like the coding side of things and the feel. But yeah. So there is that. That's the first prong. And the second prong being, is this Halo being under-reviewed? Or is it Halo 4 and 5 being over-reviewed? Which I think is a really interesting question, because I think most people would probably, in retrospect, say Halo 4 and 5 were over-reviewed. But here's my devil's advocate position. 343 have always made fantastic feeling multiplayer games. They've always been amazing. They've always felt really good. They've always been in the top part of how first-person shooter games feel. They've always been up there with COD for me. They've always felt incredible. The main criticism that came from the multiplayer portion, at least with those games, was that, you know, it drifted away from the Halo formula, which is fine, I suppose, but that doesn't take away from the game that's in front of you, and that kind of, is this a good package in and of itself if I'm to ignore Halo 1, 2, and 3? And most of the time, I think the answer is yes, and that's why they get reviewed well. You know, obviously Halo 4 was the most contentious with that because there was like kill streaks and fucking like, you know, aim down sights and, you know, all sorts of stuff. Which, and sprint was really, you know, like egregious. And there was like, I don't know if you remember, I was watching a video of this the other day, I totally forgot. There was like, you could get like passive bonuses, like you could like unlock them, and there was one you could like put like, and there was like armor abilities that you could like put a sentry out that would float in the air and shoot at people. It was mental. The stuff they did with that game, it was like so not like Halo at all. It's like, it's just funny to look back in retrospect now that they've gone back to Halo Infinite to just think like, fuck it, that took some balls, that did, just to be like, you know, we're not, you know, we're not doing that. So I think that's the other side of it. The other side of it is that, like, I don't know if they necessarily were overrated. Halo 5 did get the lowest mainline Halo score other than ODST, which I think it deserved because the campaign the storytelling wasn't that good in the campaign. But it was fun as fuck to play. Like, going around in the campaign and being able to, like, they all felt good. I think the campaign was underwhelming. But I could feasibly see Halo 5 still hitting an 84 if it was reviewed again today. It was still fun. It wasn't a dreadful story. It was serviceable.
It was fine. Yeah.
I don't know. I yapped on for a bit. What do you think?
I mean, that's literally exactly how I just described Halo 5 like 5-10 minutes ago. Was if you hopped on it just to have a bit of fucking fun, it like that extra fast-paced like combat that they added in there and making it just a bit more. I don't know. I felt like that was definitely the game you felt most like a super soldier, right? Like you just went around at like blinding speeds and just fucked everything up. Like it was insane. Like legit. Like I felt like an absolute super soldier in that game, and it was fun. Where it fell apart was the storytelling. Was just pretty poor. Like it wasn't like, oh my god, I'm going to play this game on mute and switch it off during the cutscenes. Like it wasn't that bad, but it was pretty bad. And the whole like playing as Spartan Locke and not Chief, and then Spartan Locke was just so boring. He was so one dimensional. It was unreal. He was just like, I'm part of the army. I follow orders, and that was basically it. That was his character.
But then they team up at the end. Don't forget about that.
Yeah, and then they team up at the end because apparently he just breaks down everything he's ever known, and it's just Chief, bro. This Chief guy who's when AWOL was kind of cool based off nothing, but yeah, so it wasn't bad, and I would agree with you. I think if I were to wipe my mind, go back and play Halo 5 again, it's definitely an 8+ worthy game.
Like, you could feasibly give it an 8, the whole package. Like, I know the multiplayer didn't click for you, but you could feasibly look at it with an objective eye and be like, this is a good 8.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. There's no part of me that's just like, oh, this game's like a 6 or like a 7 or something like that. That, like you said, they all still do really well. Wait, what? Feel really good, sorry. And I think, again, the same as Halo 4. And I think I liked Halo 4's campaign because it was whole Forerunner base, and that was all new to me and hadn't really been explored in Halo that much. And I thought the Forerunners were really cool, and it was nice to get a break from the Covenant. So I think like that game lies quite fondly with me just in that regard alone. And like you said, they did some wacky shit with the multiplayer, but fair play, right? They got handed this game where it's like 3 games in, Master Chief's being the center of attention, the spotlight. Like Bungie have done so much with this already that it's just like by the time it's handed over, it's like if you just do the same thing again, people will criticize you for it. But then if you try something new, it's not really it has a chance of not landing well with everyone. So they were in a really tough spot to be fair, when they got handed the IP, or sorry, made for the IP, essentially.
Yeah,
But,
definitely.
yeah.
And I think it's worth a reminder as well. Halo 4 looked incredible at its time. That was an end of gen 360 game. I know people say this all the time, but Halo 4 looked like really good. So yeah, it's just worth pointing out. Like, I wonder if that contributed to its high scores at the time. So
yeah, I think so.
Because with with all these games, there are elements of the Halo franchise which are like consistently really good. Like I said, the 343 ones anyway. Yeah, but it's the gunplay, the music, the voice acting is always really good. The cinematics are always really good. Set pieces generally like wax and waned under 343, I think a bit, but generally are really good. And so I think again, feasibly, Halo 5 could be an 80 to 85 range again. I guess it dropped points at the time, similar to Infinite, because it didn't launch with Forge. There was no split screen for Halo 5, which was a big deal for a lot of people. But I can't help but feel there's some, I don't know, because there are some things there's some similarity happening there that are tanking the reviews a bit with Infinite, and I just can't help but feel that the game should be reviewed for what it is and not what it isn't. Do you know what I mean? There was one reviewer I watched. It might have been Game Inform. I honestly can't remember who it was, but I was like, it's just annoying because I wanted to give them kudos for like actually having the eye to be like, yeah, it's a shame that there's no co-op campaign. But frankly, I've got to review what's here and not what I hoped would be here. Because like, it's just, I know they're staples of the franchise, but we spoke about this loads last week and why that's not necessarily the same thing as it is today as it was 15, 20 years ago. But nonetheless, from a reviewing standpoint, you need to review what's in front of you because we spoke about this, like there's actually an element of it being only solo at the moment, which is probably a good thing in that there's going to be more emphasis on the characters, on the narrative, on these kind of relationships that's going to really be accentuated by the fact that it's solo first.
You get to soak it in a little bit more rather than just, you can get pulled away from it sometimes if you're just fucking around with a friend, right? Like if you just experience it from a solo standpoint and sit down with it in a room just by yourself, then you might appreciate it a little bit more.
And it's just, you can't tell me you've gone around this campaign for 15 hours every minute being like, oh, I wish I had this in co-op. But it's like, well, you don't. So just like play what's in front of you and review that.
Bitching.
So I think there is an element of that which was inevitable. As soon as they announced co-op and Forge aren't coming to launch, I was like, Halo's not going to hit 90. Halo's not going to hit 90 because people are going to say it should have launched.
You do think that even though it might have not, they might have said that it hasn't openly affected their scores or whatever, you think it would have been higher around the board if it did come with co-op
and I think I think a lot of people have explicitly said, the emissions of co-op and Forge at launch are disappointing. But yeah, without doubt, I think if those things were included and there hadn't been so much controversy in the opening days of the multiplayer around the battle pass, I think this could have gone up to sort of 88, 89. Which again is a shame because a lot of reviewers got these codes really early and reviewed really early, and that means they've put the review out without the battle pass changes that we've already had before launch, which is a bit frustrating because I feel like I would say a good 40-50% of my battle pass woes have been remedied. The challenges I'm getting are nowhere near as hard as they were at day one. The XP is coming way easier. I understand there are still gripes here and there, which we've done to fucking death, but I just feel like a lot of those reviews didn't take that into account because they were like, oh, we need to get the review out, as soon as possible, as soon as the embargo goes up. Or they had it pre-written sort of thing, So, I definitely think that score would have gone up if those things would have launched. And I also think because they're staples of the franchise, they get disproportionately focused on. They're like, some people are like, I literally cannot find any enjoyment in this game because there's no co-op in it. It's like really? I don't know. That's what I mean. Just enjoy it for what it is, not what it isn't. It's just silly me sitting there and being like, this game is a 6 out of 10 because there's no battle royale mode. It's like,
yeah.
I know that's not stable in the franchise, but
I'm not going to sit there and play this campaign and just be like, that was great. I had fun, and it was a great story. But 6 out of 10 because I could play the other ones with my friend and I couldn't this one.
Yeah.
But then if I had it on launch, I'm like 9 out of 10. That just doesn't make any sense. Like the fact is, I still had a good time with the game, and I'll just play it again when it does have co-op. And
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird the way that all of this gets looked on, but then it does kind of make sense because these things have been a staple of the franchise at the same time, and these things were thought to be included, and then relatively late into its development cycle and relatively close to launch, they were pulled from under our feet a little bit. So, you can't help but be a little bit salty at the same time as well. But I do
Yep.
definitely see it more from your standpoint. I think we both agree. You just review what's there, but
Yeah, I understand. Ultimately, reviews are just people's opinions, and you can't be an arbiter of truth, really. So I understand why that will have affected the score. It does. It's just I find it kind of frustrating from where I'm sitting that something like this could have such a big impact. Like, because I know a lot of people will have played. I play Halo on launch day and Legendary with my friends every time it comes out, and we do this and that and have a great time. But I can't do that here, and it's like, okay, well, if that's how you typically enjoy Halo, that is a shame. That is a damn shame. But that's not what's in front of you. Look at what's in front of you and enjoy that. But if you pretend it's not a Halo game, if you have to, so whatever. I get it, but I it's just a little bit frustrating, and I think it does account for some of those scores that ultimately put it below Halo 4. So yeah.
Oh yeah. No, I agree, definitely.
Cool. There was something else I had to say, but I really can't remember what it is. I think, I guess it was just around like kind of the future plan. I wonder if you touched on it before that, like maybe as reviews get updated, we don't really know how they're going to handle kind of campaign, but it's something that strikes me as kind of like yearly, like annual expansions. Like I said, it will be Halo Infinite : and then a subtitle. I doubt we'll get anything in time for like the co-op launch. I really doubt it, but I guess that is the upside of them delaying co-op, because obviously they delayed it. Like it was 3 months. They said the season 1's going to end in 3 months and it's going to be co-op, but now we're extending it to 6 months, and that's when co-op's going to launch now. So we're looking at 6 months. What the upside of this is that they actually get to implement it properly, and I think if we look at the amount of polish the game has in other areas, if they need to do that, then they need to do that. And this is I think is really good about them having Joseph Staten on board, and he's staying at 343 now, which is fucking good news. That he kind of has the clout to go back to the publishing team at Xbox and be like, no, we need more time. We need to prioritize these resources and make sure that this part is the best it can be. And if that means that we get to play the next expansion or play at co-op when the time finally comes as our own multiplayer Spartans or as Blue Team, whatever it is, that's going to be so much more worth it than 4 Master Chief clones. Because I find that shit so immersion breaking. That's one of the things I really enjoyed about Halo 5 is that you got to play as Blue Team and you had these slight variations of Team SRS I couldn't really give a shit about. But when you did get to play as Team, they had like slightly different loadout variations. I thought that was so cool. I really liked that. You felt like it's part of a squad. So if they end up doing something like that, or like I said, bringing in your own multiplayer Spartan alongside Chief, that would be pretty rad. So that is the upside, I suppose.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, we've always preached that message, right? Is if it's not ready, don't release it half baked, and just take your time, polish it, and make it the best it can be, and then give it to us, right? I mean, we've always been completely on board with that whole. I mean, no one likes delays. Like, I'm not saying I enjoy delays, but I'm just saying they're there for a reason. I'd rather it come out how they want it and how we want it than not, right? So yeah, I completely agree with you. And hopefully co-op will be really awesome, and it won't just be, like you said, that immersion breaking just for Chiefs. They will add a little bit of flair to it and polish to it and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm in no rush to play it. There's plenty of other stuff the game offers right now. I've played the game so much since it came out, and it only has like 6 game modes and like 10 maps. Like, it would be quite interesting. I guess we haven't touched on this. Do you think they're going to drop any like form of patch or any extra game modes today at 6 or anything like that? Do you think they'll adjust the multiplayer in any way, or
I, th-
just plop the campaign on our laps?
I think we'll get a patch because they said in the last flighting thing they when we spoke about it, the number of things that they're working on, like for the feedback. One of the things we spoke about was the BTB radar. I think, did they say that was for? I can't remember, but they had like on all of the points they said this will be in for launch. This will be in for launch. This will be in soon after launch. We won't be able to make it. We don't think. Like the Ghost was another one. Like vehicles, they said like we recognise players didn't like how weak these felt or strong this felt. We're going to try and get this in for launch, but no guarantees. So they had a list. So there, I think we're going to get a patch of something today with like balancing and bugs and things like that. I don't think it will be like a huge patch. I think probably worth dialing expectations down a bit. I think it'll be good in that it'll line out some things, maybe a balancing change here and there. I don't think there's going to be any like content additions, which is a bit weird because that other game mode is sitting in the achievements, like, and it looks fun.
Yeah,
like,
elimination. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, and then there's 2 that are in the files, which is that one, and then dodgeball, which is like it's like what Gears used to do. I can't remember what it was called in Gears, but you have like your team has a life pool, so you have like 10 lives. But when you get a kill, you get a life back or something like that. So again, like these slower type of game modes, which I think would be really interesting for Halo. So that is a bit weird.
Oh no, Karen.
Yeah. So I was just saying that is a bit weird if we don't see them. But they did say when they launched it that everything that's in the beta is the day one content. So unless they said that with the expectation that they won't get this mode out.
Yeah.
And then they've exceeded the targets and they're like, okay, it's actually ready to go, or whatever the complication is. Then maybe they do, but I would say no. I would say no as of today.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's just one of those things where the game mode rolls out with Fracture or something like that, similar to Fiesta, right? Maybe we just get elimination at the next Fracture, and that in itself is a kind of test on the game mode and how the community receives it and whether or not it should be a permanent edition. I don't know, but then it seems a bit weird that there are achievements for it as well. But yeah, maybe we'll see it in the coming months, but just not immediately for launch, which is a shame. I would have at least liked to have seen quick play split off into Slayer, CCF, and Oddball, so I can queue them, whichever one I actually want to play. I would have liked to have at least seen that. I mean, there's still a chance we might, but I don't think so, right?
So they have spoken about that a little bit.
Yeah, but for like today at 6.
Oh, I see.
That's what I meant.
Yeah. Nah, that won't happen today.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess it's probably worth, as we're kind of pivoting into the multiplayer a little bit, it's probably worth us just covering the sort of stuff that's happened. And I appreciate we are a bit late on this because we've ended up doing the podcast a bit later than usual. But nonetheless, we had changes sort of earlier last week, I suppose, where they made some XP changes where you'd get 300 on your first game, and this would be daily, reset daily. You get 300 on your first game, 200 on your next 2, 100 on your next 3, and then you'd go back to your 50 per game. How has this XP change gone down for you?
Amazing, right? It was such a good change.
Really good Band-Aid.
Yeah, exactly. It's I literally don't have a bad thing to say about it. It's excellent. It sped up my progression on the battle pass so much to the point I actually probably get a few levels, if not more, a day. Maybe a couple levels a day. And when you combine that into, for example, like the weekly reset we had yesterday, with all the challenges, you whack on like a double XP booster and it's just insane. I think I gained like 12 levels yesterday or something. That's like over a tenth of the battle pass just in like one day. Like that's crazy. So yeah, the improvement's great, and it just encourages people to hop on and play every single day, right? Because they want to make the most of those XP, and it's not stingy. It's not like 300 for your first game and then 100 and then 50. It's like you get increased XP for like 8 games, and then if you're done, you're done. Whatever. 8 games is a lot, right?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's a great fix. They definitely took it in the right direction. And I've got to sneeze, so I'm gonna let you take over. Oh, it's gone.
I'm so excited
no.
for it. Oh no. I
It's
really
gone.
wanted it. Oh, that sucks, bro. I'm sorry.
It's
Okay,
the
well,
worst.
hopefully it comes back. But in the meantime, yeah, I agree here. I think this is a really well thought out change. It's just kind of interesting because as much shit as people and we have been giving the challenge system, it does motivate me to play. Like there's this kind of weekly effect where we. All the boys are on at Tuesday for the weekly reset to get challenges done. And part of that is that process is like a little bit frustrating because some of the challenges are stupid. But for the most part, that's really been smoothed out. I see some difficult ones here and there, like kill someone while they're carrying a flag, which is just not well thought out because people drop flags like as they're about to die.
Yeah.
But there aren't any ones. I don't seem to be getting any ones anymore. That's like kill a wraith, or snipe someone once they've gone into a grav cannon, or like either they've been removed or they've just been completely put down to like 0.5% likelihood sort of thing. So, and then because we had this on like the second week, and like don't get me wrong, had still been playing it like a lot. But after completing the challenges, we were kind of like, I can afford to go and play something else now. And that's not a bad thing. Like I think that's not a bad thing at all. But it definitely the hook disappears a bit, and there's a good psychological effect. If you want to have a look into it yourself, it's called the overjustification effect, where you remove extrinsic motivation, which devalues your intrinsic motivation, which stops you. Which is essentially what that is. Your extrinsic motivation is the challenges, so it's like that additional bit you play to get the reward, as opposed to playing for fun. And then when you stop getting the reward, the playing for fun gets devalued. It obviously is still fun and we still played it, but there was like definitely less of us logging on in that week. But since this change, there is a bit of a push to like come on and get a couple of games done because you get such a big battle pass boost in these first few days.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, I think that's just basic psychology, right? They're going to keep coming back if you keep rewarding them more often. I completely agree. We have seen us coming on more often than not. I mean, for me, it's just I was still playing the game like crazy, regardless of just getting 50 XP a match. But yeah, for just getting like the whole squad on and seeing more of a group more consistently, for sure, yeah, you just see more people turning up and playing every single day. Which is great. It's retention at the end of the day, isn't it? It's people keep coming back. So it has been a good change for sure.
Great. And to follow this up, Unishek, community manager, has says, we know many of you want even larger changes and we're committed to doing so, but these will take time. We made these updates based on data and player feedback, and we'll monitor its impact after we push it live. As always, keep sharing your feedback. So clearly this isn't the last change, and I'm pretty sure today there will be a couple more changes as well. When this has gone live, it will probably be yesterday. There's going to be a couple more XP changes from a tweet I read that I can't remember where I saw it, but I did see it. So yeah, this is good. I honestly don't really believe anyone when they're saying they still have a problem with Battle Pass progression speed. No. I feel like you're being bad faith actor at this point because I'm moving just as fast in this game as I am through other games, if not a bit quicker.
I just broke halfway last night, so I'm at level 50 on the Battle Pass already.
Sorry about that, everyone. As per usual, internet decides to die for just a couple of minutes in the only time of the day that you're filming a podcast. It's the way that it is. But as I recall, I just said about some people being maybe, or rather some of the complaints about XP gain on the battle pass being slow, it's starting to feel a bit disingenuous because it doesn't feel slow to me anymore. And then you were going somewhere with that. It felt like
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it managed to pick up what I was saying before we cut out, but yeah, I was basically just going on about the fact that I'm already halfway through the battle pass, at like level 50. So this shit's supposed to last us like 6 months. The game hasn't even launched yet. I'm halfway through it. Like, I think everyone needs to just chill. And as much as it pains me to say, but like, there won't be much to sort of unlock and chase once I finish this battle pass as well. So I don't know. I don't now. I actually reflect on it and looking through the battle pass, being halfway through it, there actually isn't that much in it.
Do you not think? I go through my Spartans
No.
now, and I've got like a nice collection of stuff
I don't
on the Mark V.
really like. I have a couple things here and there, but I just feel like I would struggle to differentiate my Spartan from other people's. I just don't feel there's enough choices to really make it personal and be like, I have this Spartan, and I might run into somebody who also has this Spartan combo. Like, maybe once in a play session, it's just like, no, I run into someone who looks very similar to me every single game.
Really, I feel like
if not identical.
I feel like the lineups at the beginning now, you don't really see that many similar Spartans anymore. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but I feel like this is a problem that reduces day by day as more people get more stuff from the battle pass.
Yeah, I mean, the battle pass isn't empty. I just think there's less in it than I once thought. But it's definitely not empty by like any means. There's still plenty to choose from and to customize. But yeah, I remember seeing that screenshot of all the different coloured Spartans all standing in a line. There's like a red one, a green one. So like, will all those customizations be available to us? Those aren't all available to us, obviously, in the battle pass, are they? But what annoys me is that screenshot was used to sell the battle pass. It was like Heroes of Reach, and it had them all lined up like that. But I know for a fact that some of those armor cores I can only buy in the store, separate to the battle pass, right? So, like, are those cores only going to be available during this Heroes of Reach 6-month era, or have they just sold like tons of armor cores? Maybe only 3 of those that were being showcased in all those images are actually available through in-game progression and battle pass, and the other like 8 you have to buy for like 2,500 premium currency. I don't know. It's just I kind of expected a little bit more just to be earned through playing rather than, but it is free to play, I guess. And we have experienced this with Apex, but Apex do it with like maybe one skin when they showcase the event, like that one Pathfinder skin that was used, that cool looking detective one. No one else will know what I'm talking about. That was the only skin that was purchasable outside of how the collection event was sold to the audience, sort of thing. I just feel like maybe it's not the case with Halo Infinite.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it is like definitely something that free to play studios are still trying to figure out, of like how to market these events, because obviously they've got these cool things that want to bring people back to the game, but if someone sees it in a trailer, logs in and sees it in the shop, then that's kind of like, it doesn't really feel like that's something I'm returning to for, if I like. So.
Yeah, exactly. And I was just after seeing that image that I was talking about with all the Spartans and all that, like, I was under the impression I would kind of have that, and like have that by the end of this 6-month period, this Heroes of Reach themed season, right? I was under the impression I would have all that, but by the looks of it and how it's progressing, I could have all that, but I would be like £200-300 deep in my wallet, like, and that's a lot of money. Like, I don't know. I guess I'm just talking about the free to play model right now and not Halo Infinite. But like, I don't know. I was just expecting to earn the majority of that. Sure, I understood a lot of it would be premium, sold separately, but it seems like quite a lot of it is because I know I saw that Anubis core that was on that screenshot that was in the store, the soldier core that is now, and stuff like that. And as cool as those are, they're like 20 quid a pop. And I buy 2 or 3 of those armor cores, and I bought a full price game, essentially. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think there's something to be said about how they do that, and I think it's something that they do need to have a look at, And I think maybe something that might be useful is for them to start chucking some of the premium currency in the battle pass. Even if it's 900 through all of it, it will make people feel more like they're getting more value out of it, that they can splash it back into the battle pass for the next season,
Exactly.
Or
and
they can pump it into the store. And it's
exactly.
like, I feel like this is something that they do this for a reason, because you know how like when you sign up or you get advertised to like go on a gambling website, they're like, oh, you get £10 for your first few rolls. Like this is kind of that psychological hook. Like you have some, you're like, well, I'm halfway there anyway. So
Yes, yeah, that's exactly where I was going to go at that point. Like even if you just earn 400 or 500 over the course of the battle pass, that makes you think, oh, hey, I only need 1,500 to actually buy this armor core, and I can actually buy this 1,500 with just the first, or the 1,000, or however much you need, with just the first 799 option for premium currency, rather than having to jump up to like the 1999 option and stuff like that. So they're still getting this extra purchase out of you. That what do you actually call it? But they're getting some. They're getting this what do they call it when they upsell? Sorry, yeah. They're still getting this upsell out of you by just giving you a small amount, right? Within the battle pass. I think that would go a long way. And I think it would push me over the edge to just buy a few of these, because I really want that new core in the shop at the moment.
Yeah, it looks cool. It's not a core though.
I think it looks great. It is, yeah, it's an entire
Just
core.
sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, not core. Yeah,
I know the language is confusing.
It's like
yeah.
an entire set to go on a core. Sorry,
on a core. Yeah. Just in case anybody was confused.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's a good idea. I think they need to have a look at that a little bit. I guess it's the way that the system works, in that when you're going through the battle pass, you get bits of a Spartan, which is obviously like great, not a problem at all. But if I think about how other battle passes do it, you obviously get whole skins, and so the comparison is when you're looking at the store versus the battle pass, you're like, oh, at level 50 I get this cool skin, or I could buy this cool skin in the store, and they're probably like of equal value. Maybe one's a little bit cooler than the other, but it's like, oh, look, at level 50 I unlock some cool gloves, or I could buy a whole set like that will that could completely change the way my Spartan looks. So I guess there is some disparity there, which I think is just the way it's going to be for Halo. But nonetheless, I think it would be useful to reconsider what's going into the store, what's going into the passes, and maybe think about some premium currency in there as well. I think that's a good direction.
Yeah. I don't think it's inherently bad. I don't want to bash on the battle pass. I think it's fine. Like I'm not bashing on it completely. I just think there are ways it could be improved from someone who's played a lot of free to play model games.
Yeah.
Halo isn't doing it poorly. It's not behind the times necessarily. I just think, pardon me, it could be tweaked to be a little bit better as someone who's been who's been a player of free to play models for quite some time now.
Definitely agree. Okay, so I wanted to touch on the playlists upcoming as well. This was something that got announced, I think, not too long ago. 5 days ago or so. So yeah, it was this week. And they've said that they've been reading the feedback about playlists, and they're working on Fiesta SWAT or Tactical Slayer and free for all playlists, which probably won't land today, but they're pushing to get them in before the end of the year, so this month. So those will be permanent playlist additions. On top of that, they also said a Social Slayer playlist with multiple variations is in the works. But we won't be able to get this one ready until after the holiday. So I don't know what typically, because he says they're a Social Slayer list with multiple variations. So I don't know what. Maybe there'll be like SWAT Slayer and no, but SWAT is Slayer. So I don't really know what that means, but I think that would go a long way into helping people. There's obviously no speak here about separating quick play into separate playlists at this time. So on one hand, I think it's good that they're adding playlists, and they also gave a big rationale for this in that they found with their other games that when they've separated these modes out, the objective modes just die. They just die. 90% of the player base flocks to Slayers. And
I do see that.
The queues triple for oddball or whatever. And ultimately, when I think about it, the only reason I want this is so I can get these challenges done. I like queuing quick play. I like the variety of that. I really like that. I would never like pick just an oddball playlist. The only reason I would like want to do that is to complete a challenge which requires me to play oddball. So again, I think there's this thing of like reevaluate the challenge system and this problem vanishes. I know people are still going to want playlists, but there's a very fair downside to creating them there. I think they need to have a Slayer. I think they need to have somewhere that some people can go to just click on Eds who really don't want to play as a team. And I think Free For All will maybe be a good intermediate there. But yeah, that's sort of the update on the playlist. And I just wanted to read out as well sort of what Unisec said about kind of the goal for events. So it's just a short paragraph. Our goal for events is to try new modes prior to adding to playlists. So this reminds me of a very like Sea of Thieves approach in that they like will bring in these seasons. Here's all the new stuff. Here's like the thematic world around it, but we're leaving this with you now. So that's kind of what I'm getting the feeling is going on here. We'll monitor the playlist health after the 3 editions above. So that being Fiesta, SWAT, and Free For All. And adjust our offering if needed. But we're excited to make these updates before the holidays. This is just the start of the conversation. So, what are the thoughts on the playlist changes here? Or additions?
Wait, so our goal for the event, we'll monitor playlist health over 3 editions above. What were those 3 editions again?
Fiesta, SWAT, and Free For All.
The Fiesta, Tactical SWAT, and Free For All. Yeah, I mean, I don't... So those will all be individual playlists. Those will all be those will all be standalone playlists. Sure, right? Like I have nothing against this at all.
You know me.
It will also be in quick play. Yeah. Oh, so they'll be thrown into the bag of quick play.
Oh no! I'm saying we'll still be in quick play. Like it doesn't make that much of a difference to us, does it? Quick play and BTB will still be there. So
yeah, exactly. But I mean, it's nice. Like Fiesta is fun and it is a good laugh and it could be useful for challenges like you can get kills with energy swords, all that sort of stuff. It can help you get those sort of done a little bit quicker. Tactical Slayer being SWAT, I've always been a huge fan of SWAT. I have. I love clicking on Eds and having people instantly die. So I'll be very excited to see that. I know that a couple of our mates have also said that they really want SWAT to be in this game, so I think that will be a game mode quite a few of our player group will be quite happy to see. And then Free For All, like you said, I do think that will scratch the itch for a lot of people that just want to play it as a sort of generic shooter and don't want to hold a stupid flaming skull to get points and they don't really know what's going on. I mean, I'm completely on board with all these coming in. It offers more variation. They can help with challenges, stuff like that. I mean, I don't know what guns you'll start with Tactical Slayer, but again, that might help with your challenges for like commando kills, BR kills, all that sort of stuff as well. So you don't have to pick them up. You always had a mental breakdown the other day using the commando, just saying it just takes like 15 bullets to kill someone, even after you break their shields if you don't hit a headshot.
It's crazy.
Like it's literally like they do like 1 damage. And like a Spartan has like 10 HP after you break their shield. You literally just shoot them 10 times in the body with it. It's
spud gun.
It's crazy. But then you just dink him in the head once, and they're like, "That's it, I'm out." Yeah. You got me.
God, I hope that gets a buff today. Oh, I so hope it does.
Yeah, that's actually a good way to buff it. I would just buff it in the sense that the body shots when shields broke do a little bit more damage, because I think its overall time to kill is okay. Like, you can break shields if you're accurate relatively quick, and then one dink headshot. Like, there's a few times where the commandos felt great in my hands, but like, it's that whole, if you can't get that headshot after you break the shields, oh my god, it's the worst. It's the worst gun in the game by far.
It's got a small mag as well, so it's punishing. Like, if you miss a few bullets after cracking, you have to go through that. It's a slow reload, and you don't have much ammo either. So like, it really is punishing.
It's true. Yeah. It just fires quite fast, and it's a small mag. Even if you hit all your shots and then dink him with the final headshot, you still have to use about 75% of your mag and hit it. When like the BR, you can kill in like 3 perfect bursts, right? And the gun holds. How many bursts does it hold? It holds like 9, I think. So like, you could technically triple kill with it in one mag. It's like, you can't do that with a commando. Like, not even a chance, dude.
Yeah, one if you're lucky.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be nice to see that get some love. Going off beat a little bit. Yeah, it'd be nice to see that get changed. But yeah, no, I'm completely on board with all these modes coming in. The more the merrier. I've always said that. And I do understand the issue with splitting the playlists, splitting quick play up, like you said, because the majority of casual players, which outweigh the players that want to play objective and want to play team based, will just want to queue and click on heads, and especially when it comes into play, if you've got your double XP timer on, you want to get all your games done with double XP while you're on the 300 for your first game, the 200 for your second game, blah 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 blah. Because Slayer games, generally speaking, will finish substantially quicker than a CTF or an oddball. So as far as earning XP goes as well, people will flock to that playlist. So, but yeah, no, yeah, I'm completely on board with it. Happy with it.
Great. And I think this is I am excited to see how Halo Infinite kind of continues to handle its multiplayer, because I think, as good as the game feels, but we've said this before, but like, there's a few balancing tweaks I feel needs to be made here and there, and I think those balancing tweaks could like bring quite a lot of new life, and that's not even including any potential content updates. Dropping a new gun into the sandbox, dropping a new piece of equipment, even something as simple as like buffing the drop wall would get me quite excited. Yeah. Buffing the radar pulse, giving it a bigger range and longer flash with bigger duration, that would make that suddenly quite threatening, so stuff like that I think would be really refreshing. So I'm excited to see how they kind of handle this and what their sort of cadence is going to be like, but so far it's been really good, so that's all really good news to me. So I just wanted to I guess we'll touch on this first, just before we drop sort of multiplayer for a bit, but I wanted to there's been like a very breaking bit of news from Jason Schrier around sort of the whole development of Halo Infinite, just as we had our technical issue. And it's not a huge article, but I just wanted to go back and touch on it afterwards. So very, very quickly, as we finish off the multiplayer section here, was the Game Pass Ultimate Rewards. We've known this for a while, that Halo Infinite's going to offer Game Pass Ultimate Rewards for subscribers. And the first one is today. Or launch day by the time you're watching this. And with that comes, by the looks of it, a pretty sleek green assault rifle skin, sort of green and black for Xbox. Well, hey. And you get 4 times 2 XPs and 4 challenge swaps as well, which I think this is a nice bonus. So we'll see how this sort of happens. They said it's monthly rewards, so I'm not going to say no to add to my sticker book.
Yeah, I was about to say that happening every single month is pretty awesome. I mean, not necessarily that. It might not be a weapon skin every month. The rewards one month might just be XP boost, but like, still nice, right? I'm never going to turn down someone giving me free shit. So yeah. And like you said, this AR skin looks pretty cool. I can also see he's on the little picture, he's riding a little green and black warthog as well. Yeah. So that might be kind of cool as coming in later as another reward.
Yeah, maybe it might pop up in the store. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, but yeah, it's cool. Yeah, no complaints.
Cool. Okay, so very, very quickly, swing back to campaign for a second. I guess campaign a little bit because there's something I wanted to just end our last discussion really off by saying that with Halo being a games as a service, this is probably just through the lens of games as a service. This is probably the best start we've ever seen to a games as a service game. I know a lot of that isn't clicking for a lot of people because it's like Halo, and Halos always have big tentpole releases. But this is multiplayer's free to play. They've said they want to support it for 10 years. This is a games as a service game. And I know the bar isn't very high, but considering this is released really, really well to a lot of critical reception, I just think that that's an interesting lens to view it through. So yeah, I just wanted to drop that in there.
And I guess for sure.
And I guess kind of on the back end of that, obviously, we know that this game got delayed last year, had that rough showing, and there's been a lot of difficulties, and a lot of people have been like pleading to know sort of what has been happening at 343, and a lot of assumptions have been made about this, that, and the other. Obviously, there was the plandemic, which happened as well, which we know was not useful. But just to very, very quickly read this excerpt from Jason Schrier. I'm not gonna. The article isn't as big. There's no massive conspiracy here. It just seems like there was some development problems in 2019, which was then throttled for creative reasons. But then it all came together really, really well. Lots of other top tier games have known to have this sort of thing. God of War is 2018 is like a one that's pointed to as was like turbulent, and then all came together in the last year. So just read this paragraph because it's like the main takeaway, I think, or one of the main takeaways. So by the summer of 2019, Halo Infinite was in crisis mode. So this is summer 2019. That's just before the. Oh, no, it's not. So, yeah, it's about a year before the showing. So, a year before the Xbox launch. So, they had a full year at this point. Halo Infinite was in crisis mode. The studio decided to cut almost 2/3 of the entire planned game, leaving managers to instruct some designers to come to the office and do nothing while the studio figured out the next move. Eventually, the game's open world was cut back from a vast Zelda-like experience into something far smaller. It soon became clear to some on the team that even with the compromises, getting Halo Infinite into decent shape by the following fall would be impossible. Still, the timing of the release didn't seem up for discussion. Microsoft told 343 that it had to be a launch game for the next Xbox, which meant releasing it in November 2020. Obviously, as the story goes, it did end up getting budged a year, and it did end up all coming together really, really nicely within the scope that they settled on. But hearing that the scope reduced by 2/3, what the fuck were they trying to do with this game? I remember reading some unverified insider stuff a while back saying that they wanted the whole ring to be explorable, and maybe that is what ended up getting sort of cut or shrunk.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it sounds like for the majority of it, what got cut was like you said, the size of the map, I guess, and how much of the open world can be explored, at least by the sounds of it. So maybe there were other biomes. Maybe it's cut content for some paid DLC now. Actually, no, they've said that DLC won't. I don't know. How would that work? Actually, you would pay theoretically if they were to release an expansion. You would pay for it, right?
I would imagine it would be paid. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Game Pass doesn't do DLCs usually, and that's going to be the upsell, I imagine. But I imagine it would be.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it sounds like they were obviously making one. I mean, they have made one hell of a game, but it sounds like they were making something just quite unfeasible. For its release time, right? I mean, even being pushed back a year, they still had to cut it. It's ridiculous. If they wanted to do their original plans, by the sounds of it, my God, it wouldn't have been released till 2025. But that's very interesting though to actually think about, because what we've got is still the biggest, most expansive, most explorative Halo by far, and it was cut down 2/3. That's crazy.
Yeah, it is. I think there's a contingent of people out there who really want a lot of gossip about 343. There was an internal revolt. People hated them, everybody each other. But it's it sounds like normal video game stuff. Stuff gets cut. all the time. That sounds like quite a big cut, to be fair, 2/3.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, but it sounds like that is quite big. But again, that doesn't sound like immensely like off the cards or different from other games.
I work for a development company, like creating like an app and stuff like that. The amount of content that gets written up, defined, as ideas and all that sort of stuff, but it gets pushed back, or no, we can't do that yet. Do that at Q4 next year, or cut that. We can't make that in time for the release. Mate, that happens all the time, like so much. We're just building a freaking app. We're not building a gigantic AAA video game. So
yeah, exactly. So. I just thought that was interesting. I imagine this conversation will carry on for a bit longer, but it's honestly good to hear that this was more normal video game stuff, because obviously there was the games director left, Chris Lee, last year shortly after the reveal, and so everybody assumed that was to do with like internal politics. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, but this report doesn't cover that, presumably because it didn't have anything to do with it. It was just the time that he left. So yeah, it's as we finish off that section, really, it's nice that this has all come together, and it's. I'm excited. I'm so excited to play the campaign when it drops to late today.
Yeah, me too.
All right. So I wanted to touch on the Game Awards. Obviously, we've got the Game Awards. Which are you gonna stay up and watch that with me?
Yeah.
It will start at 12:30. It'll probably go on for like 3 hours or something, so it'll be going on quite late.
I mean, I've got nothing to do, assuming I'm not feeling like garbage later and I can keep fighting off this illness. Yeah, for sure, I'll stay up and watch it.
Fair enough. Wicked, that sounds great. So there's because Jeff Keighley has said that there's going to be, and this is probably him hyping up his own show, but nonetheless, he said that there are 4 to 5 Elden Ring style announcements or showings.
There you go. Get the coffees in.
Yeah, right. So we'll have to see. But nonetheless, in terms of the Game Awards, the reason I'm coming back to this is because there has been a player voice vote. It's still ongoing if you want to go and get your vote in. But there's been 3 brackets. There was 20 games initially. It reduced down to 10. Now it's down to the final 5 that got all the votes. And the players' voice is obviously it's based on our votes. And at the moment, as it stands in the final bracket, the final 5 candidates are Forza Horizon 5, Resident Evil Village, It Takes Two, Metroid Dread, and Halo Infinite. So
vote Halo Infinite.
It's really funny because that is the Game of the Year list, other than Deathloop. Halo Infinite has just swapped out with the Deathloop, and that's it.
Yeah.
But as of right now, Halo Infinite is winning by a landslide. Halo Infinite is up at 37%. Metroid Dread is second with 21. It Takes Two down at 17. Resident Evil Village down at 14. And Forza Horizon 5, which is
sad.
Shade. But yeah, we're down at 11%. I guess it's because the conversation is already dominating in other areas. So, and
it should be above Resi and It Takes Two though,
but
and Metroid Dread. But I don't want to. I don't want to get into that again. We all know how we feel about Metroid Dread.
Yeah. Nonetheless, I think it would be really nice to see Halo Infinite walk away with something this year, because I'm not confident Halo's going to walk away with. I mean, it might walk away with something next year, but I don't know if it even gets a Game of the Year nomination, because next year it's looking really strong, and everyone will have forgotten about it. You know, next year there's going to be Horizon Forbidden West, there's going to be Elden Ring, there's going to be fucking Starfield, there's going to be Redfall. You know, all of these games are going to be bangers. God of War, supposedly, yeah, exactly. So, I mean, that's already a strong catalogue, even if you're ignoring the fact that Halo is going to be. I mean, it will still be relevant because the multiplayer will still be playing, hopefully. But it just, it won't have the same splash it's having right now when it's all anyone's talking about. So I hope Halo does walk away with something this year in terms of the player voice. I think that is fair. And I think that this really like breaks that bubble, that gaming bubble, that internet bubble of people being like, the progression is killing Halo Infinite, Halo launching without Slayer playlist is destroying the franchise, and like the campaign, there's no mission select thing on the campaign at the moment. That's ruining Halo, which, by the way, when do open world campaigns ever have mission select? I know there are like
can't replay. Yeah.
Exactly. I know there are like supposedly like mission type bits in Infinite, but like, it's an open world game. I know it's annoying, and they are going to add it, but like this isn't like a weird.
I guess like Destiny does it, right? You can go back and click on click on.
It's not an open world game.
I guess.
It's not his mission structure anyway.
Yeah, I guess.
So, but anyway, so it does kind of show that bubble is very, very, conducive. Like it's just very within itself. So I hope they walk away from that. But I just wanted to touch on that. I've put my vote in for Halo Infinite, and so should you.
I have, yeah.
Good job, man.
Everyone do it.
Yeah, everyone do it.
Or Forza, just not the
Forza.
others.
Yeah, well, actually, it's a bit. You could feasibly imagine a situation where the Xbox vote gets split, and then like fucking Metroid wins or something. So
yeah,
I'm gonna double down and just say vote Halo. Sorry, Forza. You should have been in the game of the year contender, and I'm sorry you're not, but that's not my fault.
You're already 6 feet under. We forgot about you.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay, I did want to touch on like the meltdown in the Halo subreddit a bit because it became like a big thing. I guess we'll just go over it quickly, but did you see anything about it?
I not really. I mean, I know that you messaged me and basically just said everyone's having a meltdown. I don't know what caused the meltdown. What caused this riot?
Oh mate, I don't know. Fucking anything. I think. I'm trying to think, like pinpoint an exact thing because it was before the campaign reviews. I think it was to do with the play. It was just like a build. Oh, that's right. It was because like all of the same points were just coming up. Like that's the thing. Everything that all of the little problems that we have with Halo 343 have addressed and given us a time frame for already. Mm-hmm. But for some reason, that subreddit they just ignore it and then post again. Like the same thing with as many personal attacks, like the same amount of personal attacks, and like just horrible language, just like pretending that they haven't addressed it. It's like they've addressed it and they're gonna do it. Like they've already fucking said they're gonna do it. Like stop posting the same shit. And that built up and built up and built up and just got worse and worse and worse. And eventually, Sketch, who I think is one of the community managers, stepped in and wrote like a really long. Sort of reply to all of it, saying a couple things which kind of triggered everyone. Like most of it was really straightforward and kind and patient. But like, for example, one of the things he said is like, personally, I don't think we kind of owe anyone like a detailed dissertation on every single decision we've ever made over the last 6 years. And it's like, well, yeah. It's like, I can't believe it. It's crazy that you have to defend that viewpoint. Like I am a therapist and I don't owe people explanations. Like I've always got in my back pocket, if you're gonna be a dick, I'm not gonna work with you. And unfortunately, they don't have that sort of autonomy. But it's the same thing. Like I feel like they need to be communicative and transparent about sort of what their plan is going forward, and the rationale for some of the decisions. But they don't need to be exhaustive. And like this is what the subreddit is just so demanding of. Like, why can't you just slap a social slayer in today? Why can't we have it right now? And they've said a couple of things. They've said, well, we're looking at the player counts and the UI. Isn't built for other playlists yet, so that would take a couple of weeks at least to like get sorted, and it's like not uber top priority. So like all of this, and they're just like it's just incessant and relentless, and like to top it off, so then the Halo subreddit mods finally stepped in. I think they should have stepped in a bit earlier, but whatever. And they locked the subreddit down over the weekend, so no one could post because devs were getting DDoSed. Devs were getting death threats. Fucking weird. People are fucking weird.
Yeah, it makes me lose faith in humanity. It's just like it's just like you said. They don't owe us such a technical explanation on how everything works exactly as he said and you said. It's just like we can voice our opinions. They've noted them. We know they've noted them. Now let them do it, right? It's not just as easy as snapping your fingers. It's development. It's hard work. It's very technical, and I completely agree with him. There's no reason that they should be like, all right, this ticket's entered the fucking week 3 stage fucking 2. We're working on this in our internal department. It's just like, no, they don't owe us an explanation for any of this sort of stuff. Like, it just comes down to the community being really fucking impatient and being really ignorant to the inner workings of how everything goes on, right?
Absolutely.
And it's just so fucking childish. Like, it would never even cross my mind to yell at a developer. Like, I don't know who these people are, like what age bracket they're in, but like, come on, just fucking stop, man.
And the worst thing is it wouldn't achieve anything. It wouldn't achieve anything,
Yeah.
and that much is obvious because even if they were like, right, back in 2015 we made this decision to do this, and this is what happened, and this is how it went, you'd get the same thing. There would just be another response, and they would be like, well, actually, I would have done this, and I think you should have done that. You know, they've just armchair developed their way through it, and it just like, what is this achieving? What exactly is this? Is this use of resource of having people write up their log to give to you? What? It's just a waste of fucking time. And you know, just to clarify, we've said it loads of times. There are some things that we feel need to be tinkered with this game. This is the case with any game, but like for a game that has done as well as this one has, it's just so incredibly frustrating to like go into the community and then be like, every post is just laser focused on something minor or something that maybe the community doesn't feel is minor, but has already been addressed. Like, and just still going on about it. And the language is just so intense. You know, it's like, these fucking greedy scumbags. I can't believe they're doing this. And it's just like, take a breath. This is how monetization works. Like, if you're not happy with that, you know, complain to your government. You know, it's like, it's just, ultimately, none of those complexities really matter. The fact that businesses are for profit, or the fact that this is the monetization. What really matters is that these people, that they're not able to like channel this frustration into something like useful, or to just find enjoyment in what is already like in front of them. That's the frustrating part. That it's just, I don't think they want to enjoy it. I think it's part of their personality to hate 343 and to hate modern Halo, and that's never going to change for a lot of these people. Because even when the reviews dropped on Monday and they were like glowing, most of the comments were like, "This is all paid off. Microsoft and Xbox have paid all these reviews off," and it's like, what the fuck do you want? Do you want a good Halo game or not? Because it doesn't sound like you do.
It's
impossible. It's impossible. It's impossible.
It's impossible. Yeah, it's just ingrained into them on like a molecular level, isn't it? To just hate modern Halo and 343, like you said.
The genetic makeup.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I feel like it's impossible to address because it will never change. You can't change these sorts of people, and it's just like really, bro. Like, is there not being a Slayer playlist really just making this game unplayable for you?
Yeah, it's like, I don't see that.
What is wrong with you? Like, just fucking shut up. And if you did have that playlist, it'd be something else. Like, for fuck's sake, the Needler's not good enough. I'm uninstalling. It's like, fuck the Needler, man. Use the other 99% of the fucking weapon sandbox and chill out. Like, there will always be a problem, and it's impossible to ever fix this. And I do feel so sorry for 343 and their developers, because they've gone through a rough patch since they started making Halo. They haven't done the best with 4 and 5. They finally knuckled down. They finally listened to as much of the constructive ideas and stuff like that from the community as they can, while drowning out the noise. And they make us a really good fucking product. And they're still... The fact that they release a game like this and they are getting death threats makes me so mad.
I mean, like, what can you do? Honestly, like, what can you do?
I just don't... And there will just always be people like that. Like, people are just toxic, man. Like, I'm toxic in certain ways. Not like this, but like, you just can't change that sort of toxic nature in people. It's just, they love it. It gives them a rush to be behind a keyboard and do this sort of shit. So,
And I think there's something to be said about, because there's a couple of like YouTube videos I've watched like in the last few weeks that have been like really feeding into this, and I think there's something to be said about that. Like, obviously those content creators aren't the people who have done any of this, unless they have like alt accounts where they're being really toxic in it on Reddit as well. But making daily videos, and I don't know why I have to say this as if it's like a bad idea. Making daily videos about what's in the store and calling 343 and Microsoft greedy is not a healthy way to channel criticism. Mm-hmm. You'll get hate clicks. Well done. Fucking good for you. But this sort of stuff and content feeds back into this, especially when you know that a fan base is already volatile and prone to being aggressive and attacking personally and going one step further into actual crimes. Like, let's just let the game breathe for a bit. Like, for fuck's sake, like
It's essentially like having a small, tiny little fire. There's like a tiny little fire with some of the issues in Halo Infinite, and the devs are spraying it with water. They're trying to get rid of it, and essentially what you're doing is just dousing it with petrol every day, and it's just like, it's not helping. Just let them get rid of the small fire. You're just making the fire bigger for the same reasons. The small fire hasn't changed. It's still the same things wrong with the game. You're just making it bigger. Like, what is that achieving?
Yeah.
But, people are selfish because, like you said, it's helping them get money. It's helping them get clicks. It's helping expose them. So they just embrace this toxic nature. And it's self-beneficial, like, doing this sort of stuff as well.
Yeah. Like, Halo Infinite is already dying.
Yeah.
Just like this sort of shit, it's like, give it a rest, would you?
So fucking get a hobby. The worst thing is they probably do that and then they fucking clock off and just boot up and play Halo Infinite for like the rest of the night.
Man,
that's the worst shit. I know you're out there. I know you're playing the game. So just fucking stop.
Yeah. It's so funny as well because like a lot of the complaints have been about the store and the monetization. Fair enough. I think that's fair. I don't think
optional.
It is optional, but it's not wildly out of. In fact, I would say it's less egregious than some other free to play, games in the market. But yeah, I'd like to see. Overall, I don't think that industry standard is that good. I'd like to see that come down a bit and get readjusted. And if that's going to be leave audience 343, that's fine. But it's the fact that the devs have already addressed that and said, yeah, we're going to look into this, and it's still going. And then on these posts, these like really hateful, toxic posts, there's like over 100 guildings, like the medals from Reddit that you have to buy, spend money on. So they're like, I can't stand these £20, armor pieces. It's absolutely ridiculous. Here's £20 to like get your post on the top. One of them I saw was a £120 gilding.
Wow.
That's what I mean when I say
I could buy everything Halo Infinite's currently offered for less than that.
Exactly. It's like, this is what I mean when I say I think it's like it's just part of them. It's just part of them at this point. Unless there's like a change in perspective of like, actually, you know what? Let's maybe just appreciate what we've got. Make constructive criticisms where we feel is appropriate, and then move on and just enjoy like what we've got after. But that doesn't seem to be happening. And Kotaku called their article about this: Halo subreddit temporarily shut down because angry gamers won't stop being toxic assholes.
Nice. That's a good title. That's a great... God, they used arseholes in the title of a fucking news article. That's crazy. Respect.
Yeah, it's good shit. So yeah, that was meant to be a small section, but it ended up being quite a long rant.
Yeah, well, shit needs to be said sometimes.
Yeah, it's stupid. Anyway, wow, we're done with Halo now. Thanks for sticking around. We are like an hour and 40 minutes in. But there's still stuff to talk about because like this is this is a big old, it's a busy period for Xbox at the moment. So I think it's kind of to be expected. But this really does feel like Xbox is in their next chapter now. Well, like in the first few pages of the next chapter, Xbox has 20 nominations for the Game of the Year awards, and the next closest publisher has 11, which I think I want to say is like Nintendo, maybe. They're cleaning up. So. In terms of the games this year, multiple Game of the Year contenders. Flight Sim isn't one of them, but Flight Sim is at like a 90 on Metacritic. Age of Empires is like an 81, 82. We've got Forza, we've got Halo, and then obviously even at the beginning of the year we had Gears Tactics, we had Hivebusters. There's one other thing I'm missing as well, but I can't remember what it is. Nonetheless, all of these games. Psychonauts 2 was obviously Xbox Game Studio. Deathloop, obviously, the nuance around that is complicated, but yeah, nonetheless, these are games produced by the Xbox team, and they're going to pick up awards for it, at the very least, a nomination. So this is a big reflection on Xbox, and like we finally come over the top of that mountain that we've been looking up at for so long. Of like, these studios are coming together, they're making these games, and they're starting to release, and it's really paying off. So big round of applause to not just Phil, but the rest of the team as well. It's all looking really, really good.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, this is the best Xbox has looked ever, I think, and it's only getting more exciting as we go into 2022 and beyond. So
absolutely.
Yeah, I'm absolutely excited. I would have thought that my gaming years, like me being 27, I was just like, back when I was younger, I was probably just like, I probably won't be playing games when I'm like near 30 or 27. It's just like, but like now I'm here, it's like this is the most excited I am for games like right now and where they're going. So yeah,
absolutely. So to touch on the first sort of story for the week, xCloud had a bit of an update, sort of a new feature, something that the team is coining Clarity Boost. So what this essentially is sort of like a software side thing. I don't know what to call it. System, process, whatever, that kind of makes it look crisper, like seems to up the resolution without actually upping the resolution. Obviously, as you can tell, I don't know anything about how this actually works, but I think these are cool additions to xCloud, and I'm wondering if we'll ever see something similar for just consoles, because like super resolution and resolution upscaling is something the team has spoken about before, like alongside FPS boost. So I'm curious if we'll see that make the leap over, but I like the sound of this. This looks cool. To like just like help with the fuzziness that comes with streaming sometimes. But it's only available on Microsoft Edge at the moment.
Yeah, no, it's cool. Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's just an improvement on how xCloud is working, and just ironing out all the kinks that come with this new era of cloud gaming, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it makes sense that it would. They've only sort of developed this tech and made it compatible with their browser, their home-based browser. I'm sure they'll move it to the more mainstream Chrome and Firefox and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, no, it's great. Yeah, absolutely. The better we can play games quality-wise anywhere in the world, the better.
Hopefully this kicks in on consoles soon for the console streaming, because I think that's I've gone on about that feature before, but I think that's a really fantastic feature and you'll get a lot of use as the years go on, streaming to console.
Absolutely.
Amazing. Next up, a new design director joins Rare to work on Everwild. So this game still remains shrouded in mystery.
What game?
What game? Yeah, Forever Wild. Am I right? So this game, is still heavy in development. Supposedly, it's had a bit of a rework in like late 2018 or 2019 or something. So no, I imagine we'll see more about it at E3. I'm excited to see more about this. But the guy, the new design director that's joined, is ex Supermassive Games. He's worked at Sony before and Until Dawn. Supermassive do the what's it called? The Dark Anthology series. So they've been doing that, which has been mostly good. I think they've had a bit of mixed reception on the recent stuff, but mostly good. He also worked at Creative Assembly, which has done a lot of successful stuff. One of them being Halo Wars 2. Criterion as well, and EA. Lead designer on Alien Isolation. So, these teams are like constantly suiting up with more and more industry talent at the moment. So I'm so excited to hear more about Everwild. I think those trailers that they did the other year were absolutely drop dead beautiful. So I'm really excited to see more Everwild.
Yeah, that game looks sick. Yeah, it'd be nice to just see more, know more, just anything
What is
about
it?
that game. Yeah. But it's it's definitely caught my attention and then moved into the background. But I'm ready for it to jump out and catch my attention again for sure.
It's got such a unique vibe to it. There's something so unique about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think what makes it unique is the fact that we just don't know what it is, right?
It's just a mystery.
Yeah. Once they announce, they're like, it's a third-player RPG. It's just like, okay.
Well, I've played this before.
It's not that unique now. Back when it was just a fatty question mark, it was a lot more unique.
Well, I'm still hoping that there's been some whispers. I can't remember if I don't think it was like or maybe it was like an unverified insider thing of it being like a God game. I was like, I haven't played a fucking God game in ages. That'd be wicked, like black and white. But obviously you're playing as your character, and you're sort of preparing the land, and you're doing it through the animals to help you and stuff like that.
That'd be cool.
I'd like that a lot. Okay, staying in theme with Rare, Sea of Thieves had its Season 5 launch. If just in case Xbox wasn't having a really busy month. Season 5 launched just last week. And this is a really cool content update. I spoke a bit about this last week. Obviously, we've got the full sort of list of things they've added. But the flagship, just in case you're not aware, the flagship sort of feature here is the ability to sort of bury your loot. You can bury it, and when you bury stuff, it will create a map for you, similar to how when you get a what they call the golden fellows. I can't remember what they're called. That faction, they give you treasure maps, and you dig up. It creates one of them, and you can. They've made a new board, and you can pop your map there, and so other players can take that, like your player generated map, and when players find the loot, you get that loot as well. So it's you get exactly the same. It's not like halved or anything. So people can just pick that up and be like, oh wow, this looks really. Someone's buried so much treasure, like, and you don't know what they've buried. Like, it could be like really good chests, really bad chests. But I just think this is like a actual like fucking genius move that adds a lot of replayability, and I'll be interested to see how they like work on this, because this is like adding player generated content to it. Like, you could go to it and someone could have done like a really cool one on one of the big islands, like a cool like treasure hunting thing, and obviously you get rewarded for it. So I think there's a good incentive for you to make it yourself.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's rewarding for both the players hiding the chest and both the players going to seek it, and it also helps with this whole people who play these sort of games, they like to role play these scenarios, right? They want to feel like pirates as much as possible, and this is doing that, and then also not wasting the player's time at the same time. You're still getting rewarded for it. So yeah, I think it's a really smart idea, and it sounds super fucking fun. Yeah, it sounds awesome.
I'm curious if it's something that would be feasible to do if you're getting chased. Do you know what I mean? Like, to hop out and like hop out, like just somebody hops out with the chest, buries it, skim over to the next island, somebody hops out, buries it, mermaid's back, and just do that.
Because you don't technically lose it, do you? Yeah,
exactly. And
just get it later.
Right, yeah. So it would, just interesting. So among that, there's lots of other smaller things. There's now cannon rowboats, which didn't sound interesting to me, but then I saw them attach it to the back of a big boat, and suddenly there's another cannon on the side. So sloops could have two cannons, which I thought was really interesting. Fireworks and flares. These look beautiful. I don't know if you've seen the trailer for this. They look so good. They like reflect off the sea.
Oh, nice.
It's so you can fire like flares out of your cannon. So there's no flare gun, but you could add them yet. But you can fire it out of your cannon, so it like shoots up overhead and lingers there for like a good like 2 or 3 minutes. So it creates this really awesome like effect over the islands. And there's like a white one and a red one. So I think that's really nice.
Awesome.
There's a couple of silly things here, like sitting and sleeping, interacting with the chairs. You can sleep, which like slowly restores health. So leaning into role-playing stuff a bit more. I think there were like dice. They did maybe it's like a dice emote or something. I can't remember, but I know people have been asking for that for a while. There's obviously a new plunder pass, and a couple of other new features and improvements, like using the trumpet, which gave you a bigger speaking range. You can now
Yeah.
flip it round to whisper, so it gives you a
Oh,
smaller range.
oh, that's interesting.
That's
Yeah,
sort of
that's
fun.
kind of cool.
So if you're in a boat, you can whisper to your mate, if you're being
Yeah.
a stowaway. But yeah, I just thought this was really nice. I think I'd love to see more updates like this from the team. I've been critical of some of the stuff that they've done before with Sea of Thieves, and I think they just leaning into this sandbox side of it is really the way to go. Leaving permanent additions that sort of that allows more interactivity with the world and allows more
Yeah.
layers and layers and layers of stuff to happen and keep it interesting is what I think makes the game shine.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, because as fun as the tall tales are, you do them, you're done, sort of thing. Where this is potentially infinite, right? You can just, like you said, it just interacts with the whole sandbox around you. So yeah, they should definitely lean more into this sort of stuff and embrace that sort of role play aspect of the game more. I think.
Yeah, love it. Next up, there was a new Starfield video this week, a big one as well. Into the Pursuit. Sorry, no. Into the Starfield, the Endless Pursuit, it was called. It was like a 7.5-minute video. It's like kind of a behind the scenes kind of documentary style thing, like what is Starfield? What's it been like developing it? This sort of stuff. Like kind of almost it's like a trailer, but like in kind of a Q&A format where Todd was there and spoke about it a bit more. Did you see this at all?
I watched half of it when you sent it to me, and then forgot I clicked on it, and I didn't finish the other half. It just got buried under other things.
Yeah, fair enough. I thought it was nice little trailer. Gives you there's more concept art in there. Gives you a good feel for the music, which sounds eye-rollingly good. And I think one of the things that's really caught people's attention from this kind of video is Todd Howard saying that in a lot of their games they like to have a step out moment. In a Fallout 4 or 3, you step out of the vault to see the world, and in Skyrim you step out of the cave to see the woods and not the woods, like the forest areas and the mountains in the background and the dragonfly. And he said in this he likes to think that there's 2 step out games, and then says himself there's something cryptic for you. So people have been speculating about what that means, and my kind of thoughts on this is it's either like literally 2 things, you have one time at the beginning of the game where you step out and you're not on Earth, you're on a different planet, wow, spectacle, and then another time when you step into your ship and you fly into space and you see kind of the galaxy in front of you.
Yeah,
that was idea one. The other idea is if it was something to do with it was like a play on words with Armstrong's quote, one small step for man, small step for mankind, that's 2 steps. So whether it's like a moon thing, don't know. But yeah, it was a really neat video. My excitement for that game continues.
to skyrocket. Yeah, it's in space. Yeah,
It may as well be. It's tantalizing. It's not even really tantalizing. It's just brutal. However, it's still like a year away. But I guess I'll settle with Master Chief for now. But I'm really getting good vibes about this game. I'm loving everything they're showing so far. So hopefully we see more at E3. It'd be awesome.
Yeah, hopefully.
Next up, Games Pass editions this month. There's quite a few. In case you didn't know, there's a few interesting ones here as well. We've obviously got Halo dropping into Games Pass. We've got a game called Rubber Bandits, which actually looks really fun. I don't know if you've seen this. It's like a co-op party game. It's like Gang Beast style sort of thing, but it doesn't look like a piece of shit.
Okay.
It looked really fun. I was thinking about downloading it the other day. We've got the one and only AMOGUS coming next week.
AMOGUS. Nice.
Which I'm dead excited about as well. I think this is going to be a real golden age for us and our friend group, I think, where we have play Halo Infinite until we're done our challenges or sick of it or whatever, then whip over to Among Us for an hour or 2 to just piss around. I think that's going to be a real nice cadence we're gonna have. Then we've got some games like Arkvale. We've got Stardew Valley, Lawn Mowing Simulator, which everyone loves apparently. And we've also got Aliens Fireteam Elite as well.
Yeah.
It's the headliners.
There's also that you didn't. Is that the Warhammer game? Did you mention?
I didn't say that now because I don't really know what it
Yeah,
is.
it's I think it's like a an RTS like Halo Wars style, Age of Empires style game with Warhammer. Um,
Mm.
which
Okay.
one of our friends is actually been playing the last couple of days, and he says it's pretty good. He says he hasn't blown his mind, but it's pretty good.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah,
I
so
didn't.
that's also quite a cool one.
Yeah. Now that you mention it, I think I have seen trailers of it before. So yeah, no, that sounds cool.
Mm.
Awesome. Overall, really, really strong month.
Yeah, it's a
This
good
time
month.
around. Next up, Warner Bros. Executive producer joins Xbox Games Studios Publishing. Now, this is somewhat interesting. Erin Pipergirds. I'm so sorry. There's no way that's right. But the guy's worked at NetherRealm Studios as senior producer for 8 years. He's worked as executive producer at Warner Brothers Games, and now has recently just moved to executive producer. The reason this is interesting is because there obviously has been a lot of talks about partnerships with Warner Bros. Matt Booty, the current head of Xbox Game Studios Publishing, worked at Warner Bros. Doing the same thing for years. So there's a lot of talent currently migrating from Warner Bros. To Xbox, and it just makes me think: are those relationships getting quite close? So I just thought it was worth mentioning because it's caused a lot of speculation.
Mm. Yeah,
Although
definitely.
it doesn't take much though, does it? Like literally, Phil could tweet about like a deodorant can, and everybody would be like, "Deodorant can RPG confirmed." Like it doesn't take
Yeah.
much. But
Yeah, no, exactly. But I mean, all this sort of stuff, grabbing talent from uh, from places like this. Yeah, obviously it's pretty exciting, and I do think all that sort of stuff is I don't want to say friendship building, but yeah, it could mean something potential later down the line. So, and if not, it's just another good piece of talent, right?
yeah, absolutely. And this has been going on for a few years now, where we've been like looking at people joining the Xbox family, like industry vets, like
Yeah.
coming over, and it's really just clear that dedication and that funding as well, that budget to get these people on board has been it's still going, and it's paying off now, but it's still happening.
Yeah.
All right, in our last story of today, quite a big one. There has been a scoop from Bloomberg. I think was it Jason Schrier? Yeah, it was Jason Schrier again. Double name drop on the Quick Resume podcast in one day. Wow, he's going to blow up in
Wow.
popularity. Now we've popularized that website. He said that Sony is planning a new subscription service, codenamed Spartacus, to take on Xbox Game Pass. It's being pitched as a 3-tier service that will merge PlayStation Now with PlayStation Plus. The highest tier can include PS1, PS2, and PSP games. So, don't know if you saw anything about this, but there's a couple more juicy details in here.
Okay.
Details on Spartacus may still not be finalised, so this is an excerpt straight from the article that I thought was the most relevant. But the documentation reviewed by Bloomberg outlines a service with 3 tiers. The first would include existing PlayStation Plus benefits. The second would include a large catalogue of PlayStation 4 and eventually PlayStation 5 games. The third tier would add extended demos, game streaming, and a library of classic PS1, PS2, PS3, and PSP games. A representative of PlayStation didn't immediately respond to a request for comment. So, this sounds like, because the big points that have been taken away from this is that this doesn't sound like there's going to be day one games in it.
No. Yeah.
And I think there's an interesting conversation to be had there around how much value that brings to Games Pass. Does it bring value? Is this going to be competition to Games Pass if it doesn't have that? I mean, I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I mean, speaking from me personally, I think the best part about Games Pass is knowing that all of our first party studios and all these upcoming game releases are day one on here. available for preload. We don't buy them or anything. They're just there. So that's a really huge aspect of Games Pass for me, and I imagine you, and I imagine a lot of other people. So if this, by the way it's worded, doesn't have that, it won't have Horizon Forbidden West dropping on there like day one. I think that's kind of a big deal, to be honest. It kind of just sounds like, yeah, you kind of just pay for a catalog of games to be that you're accessing, and the whole tier thing is kind of weird.
I mean, it honestly sounds a bit more like Nintendo's service, like a beefed up version of like Nintendo's new one, where they've just been like,
Yeah,
pay a bit more and we'll give you like retro games, like essentially, which you can have for free as part of that. And obviously there's some other things in there with like extended demos and game streaming, and some a large catalog of PlayStation 4 games, I guess. But
yeah,
I mean,
and eventually PlayStation 5. That wording is a bit odd. There's there's a fair amount of PlayStation 5 games already.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there was a follow-up.
They're just gonna drip feed that really slowly.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah. So here it was. It says Jason Schrier did follow up because it, like you said, the wording is a bit suspicious. Said this new service expected in the spring will likely retain the PlayStation Plus branding. Don't expect Sony to include its big new games day one like Games Pass does, but the expectation is a stronger offering than PlayStation now. So, yeah, I mean, it is interesting because if you think about like some games that have come out that we got on day one and that we played a lot, had a good time, and then put it down. Back 4 Blood is a good one. Outright is a good one. These are things that I'm glad I got to play. I had a good time with them, and then we put it down, and I'm glad I didn't have to spend full money on them. I guess maybe they're third parties, maybe those are bad examples, but you get the point. It's not like Forza Horizon 5 or whatever. I would have been a lot more tempted to pay full price for that. Like instead of saying I can wait 6 months and play it, or I'd have to pay now, and that would be not a nice feeling to be paying more for a subscription service and also be like, do I really want to drop? Like, it just creates unnecessary friction, I think, in your customer. Do you know what I mean?
In the sense of they're subscribed to this, but they're not sure when this game they might want will enter this catalog of games. So it's just like you're essentially just paying for a subscription and still tempted to pay for a full price game at the same time.
You get the worst of both worlds,
Yeah, you're just kind of stuck. Yeah, you're stuck in limbo, aren't you? Always trying to juggle and make that decision. Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, what makes Game Pass so great is the fact that we don't have to make that decision. We just know. We just know the next Gears is there. We just know the Fallout 5's there. We know Elder Scrolls there, Starfield, Halo Infinite. We don't have to think about, do I buy this? Similar to how we felt with something like Battlefield 2042, right? It was that sort of feeling is how I would imagine a lot of PlayStation players, like you, as you described, would feel with this service. Yeah, it's a bit weird.
And I imagine, because like the amount of time it takes to come to the service is important as well. But PlayStation really seem to like the 1 year figure, whether it's like launching on PlayStation, then bringing it to PC, or 1 year timed exclusivity. They seem to like that quite a lot. So it wouldn't surprise me if it's a year until it comes onto these services. And I imagine what they'll do is they'll price it more competitively than Games Pass, so they can use that as sort of a PR tool. But I mean, I think I'm in agreement with you. And so I think the one demographic that it is useful for is actually maybe for someone like me, maybe. And I think that is for someone who doesn't own a PlayStation but is looking to get into the ecosystem as a secondary console.
Yeah.
If you're going to be paying for PS Plus anyway, because maybe this game you want to play with an online feature. One example I had was like Bloodborne, right? I bought PS Plus. Even though I could play it offline, I wanted the online functionality of it. So maybe this is actually getting more of a niche example than I thought it would be. But if you are going to get it anyway, and it's a secondary console, you get it in a year's time. Oh, wicked! I can play Horizon Forbidden West. No, is that what it's called? Yeah, I think so.
The new one, yeah,
the new one. I can play this for just this subscription. I don't have to drop 70 quid on it. there's some niceness there. But having said that, now that I've said it out loud, the fact that it is bundled in with PS Plus makes it kind of silly, and I think that's why Xbox has been hesitant to bundle in Xbox Live Gold with Games Pass, or at least have 2 tiers of Games Pass and Games Pass Ultimate. In that, some people will want to have Games Pass and download these games for the single player side of it, but don't really use the online functionality, which I wouldn't do if I was a secondary console user. I wouldn't use much of the PS Plus. So now that I say it out loud, it's actually maybe not as good as I initially. I think there is an angle there, but I think it's just quite weak. That's all. There's not much of an argument for this.
Yeah, I mean, looking at this, I do think it's obviously good and it's obviously positive, and I think there is space for it, but I don't think that there's anything there to directly compete with Games Pass, at least the way they're sort of selling it and describing it as it is now.
And I suppose we shouldn't downplay like this is going to be useful for like a family or someone who is happy to spend another, let's say, 15, 20 quid a month on the subscription to get access to those older PS4 games that maybe they didn't play. I think you'll still have the Game Pass effect in that because you have that subscription. You'll try games that you usually wouldn't, but you'll just get that for older titles and indie titles, which that's one of my favorite parts of the Game Pass offering. But oftentimes we get like day one stuff as well, like 12 Minutes was one of them. Is Outer Wilds one of them, or did that come later? It might have come later. But nonetheless, I think you get that same sort of thing of like, oh, there's no harm in me trying this game. It's reviewed well, and I wouldn't usually buy it, so I'll try it. And so you still get that, and I think that's useful. And like if you're a family, wow, there's now a catalogue of games that the kids can play. So that is still nice, but I think it really loses what makes Game Pass shine.
I agree.
Really shine. Which, as you say, is that day one release for the first party, which for Xbox is such a big catalogue now, with all the Bethesda games, and so much variety. And I don't know if PlayStation quite has the output for that yet. I don't know if they have the output or if they have the variety. I don't know.
Yeah, the variety does kind of make sense, because if like God of War and like Forbidden West, which is just both drop on there, right? They're both quite similar style games and lengthy games you'd want to spend a lot of time with. So like, it's not the sort of thing, like you said, that we play some Halo Infinite, we're kind of done with that, so we jump on something else to have a bit of a laugh or whatever. Or we play an RPG instead, like we're done with shooters. I feel like a lot of PlayStation, like you said, have very similar style games. So it'll be quite hard to sort of split your time to play both. Plus, they're games that are single-player narratives, so you want to get sucked into something like God of War, and then that's going to eat up. That's going to take such a long time to complete before you move on to something else. You're not going to want to just play Horizon at the same time, right?
Yeah.
So that does come into play, I think.
Yeah, we'll have to see how it pans out. But from where I'm sitting, this doesn't really sound like a good Games Pass competitor. I guess there is a competition. I know they see it internally as competition. I guess there is on some level, like I said, in that it has that Game Pass effect of trying something that you maybe otherwise wouldn't. But the fact that it's bundled in with Plus, the fact that it doesn't have day one launches for these big pillars, really, they're really missing. I mean, maybe they're just going to test the waters and then maybe add a fourth tier at some point. This includes, and that would be, I think, really healthy for them, because that would be something that would get me interested if they decoupled it from PS Plus. Because that's really quite hard to sell me on for someone who would use it as a secondary console. So, yeah, I think it's interesting, and I think it's even more interesting the fact that it's only been like 6. No, it's been less. When is September? So it's only been like 4 months since Jim Ryan went on record saying a subscription service just doesn't work for our type of games. They're just too expensive and it just won't work. So I guess that's why they're delaying it, so they can. It strikes me as Sony trying to double dip, except they're like fucking laughing at you while they're saying it. It's like, pay for our subscription service, but also buy our games day one. We're doing you a favor, we promise. So it's like,
it's a bit weird. It's kind of like it's in a strange place. It's like in limbo between being great and being bad. It's like it's okay, right? It's not really doing anything that exciting, that revolutionary, that I don't know.
It just seems like a really watered down version of Games Pass, really watered down, and then, like I said, it's more in line with the Nintendo service, to be honest. And I've taken a couple of screenshots of that interview with Jim Ryan from September about it, and just to read the quote: "We are not going to put new releases into a subscription model." So this is actually in line with what he said. "These games cost well over 100 million to develop. We just don't see that as sustainable." So I guess when they said that, new releases. Lots of wordplay there. Technically, they're not new releases because we'll put them in a year later. So yeah, and there's just the overall vibe and comments that suggest that there's not going to be a subscription service. And I think even though Xbox has been playing catch up in the games department, we're finally there. But I think Xbox has been really far ahead in other areas, and I feel like PlayStation are always playing catch up in these other areas, whether it's I don't know, whether it's accessibility or it's like hardware or accessories or features like, streaming, Games Pass, whatever it is. I just feel like they're really playing catch up with this, and they tend to just kind of. I feel like there's a lot of like copy pasting that goes on.
Yeah, for sure.
They usually kind of let Xbox jump into the water and see how something new pans out and then follow suit, which is, it's not like that's an uncommon thing, but it's just the pattern is quite clear to me as far as from where I'm sitting.
Yeah. There's a lot of areas they play catch up in, yeah, for sure. And I think a lot of the stuff that requires like innovation and stuff like that, they do tend to take a back seat and see how it all works before they give it a go themselves.
Yeah, and that's not to say PlayStation doesn't push boundaries with other things, because they absolutely do. Adaptive triggers, just to name one. But that's generally how I feel the pattern is, despite of the outliers. So we did it. That's the end of the podcast. I'm sorry this was so long. We just kind of had a lot to talk about, and obviously it is a big Xbox day, and we're both on holiday now for a few days, so we have more time than usual to yabber on. But hopefully you stuck around. Hopefully you had a good time. We sure as heck did. Do we have any closing thoughts today, Mr. Timbat?
No, I want to play Halo campaign.
I want to play Halo campaign too.
We're like just over 2 hours off.
Yeah, and then we've got to install it. I'll wait for it to install.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is pretty cool. But in the meantime, I hope. Well, I mean, just in general, guys. I hope you have a good time. We've been waiting a long time for this campaign to come out. If you're a Halo fan or not, this is, like I said at the beginning of the episode, this really marks kind of a new chapter for Xbox, I think, and I'm excited to keep talking about it on this podcast. I hope you guys are as well. Lots of love, everyone. Happy Haloing. We'll catch you in episode 35 next week, where we'll talk about probably our experiences and the Game Awards as well. Anything new to get to about that. So we will smell you later. Bye.
Bye.